onto the 101 and then back onto the eastbound 10 freeway. Now it looks like once again he is on surface streets trying to run these officers. Right now there is no indication they are prepared to either give this up, put it in tracking mode, or anything like that. In fact, they are dedicating more resources to pulling the suspect over. Again, we're still a few miles out here, so we're looking through the neighborhood, but still quite a chase here as we approach the 11 o'clock hour.
All right. Well, as we're watching this, a shooting suspect, we don't know much beyond that, when or where that took place. Whether it was recent, whether it was the catalyst for the pursuit, we just don't know yet. We're trying to gather more information with our assignment desk as to just when or where this happened, whether this is somebody that's been wanted for a while by police or whether this just happened. But the more units are being brought to bear on it. Again, going through the Boyle Heights area, East LA area, going on City Terrace on the 10 freeway, different directions on the 10 freeway, and there it is, that white Honda. Looks like a white Honda, either minivan or SUV. Hard to tell still as we get closer. Looks like a minivan. Don't know how many people are inside, and we don't know if they are in fact believed to be armed at the moment. But when you have a shooting suspect, you have to assume that if they've used a gun once, they will try to use it again potentially, and so officers will act accordingly. It looks like he is going through a lot of stop signs, going through red lights. That he had a green there as he turns left onto this street here. And again, now in a business district being pursued by the LAPD. Chris, what can you tell us now?
As we get a little closer, Mark, yeah, he's just gotten off Gage onto Cesar Chavez. These are all streets that he was on no less than 10 minutes ago. So he kind of left the area and has come right back to an area that he apparently feels comfortable with or somewhat confident with. That's speculation on my part, but far from coincidental that he's ending up on these same streets and now making a lot of repeated turns here, just kind of zigzagging his way through the City Terrace area, which is where they were earlier, and you can see him making a lot of random turns, wild lefts, some random rights, and here he is now on Herbert Avenue at First Street, making his way through City Terrace, still north of the 10, and another right turn onto First Street here. Still no intention of pulling over, not doing crazy speeds, but still doing just about the speed limit. Appears to be slowing down for some of these intersections here, but still not pulling over. I mean, he's not putting a lot of distance between him and that primary unit, but what you can see right there is a passenger in the right seat there. Those side windows, those passenger windows are tinted, but if you caught the windshield there, you were able to see some movement on that from that passenger seat. You can see LAPD with their airship overhead here. Again, I count 8 units right behind him, and they are right on his tail. This is a hot pursuit of at least two shooting suspects on the streets of East LA here as they continue to make some random turns here. Looks like he's getting ready to make a right turn. Let's widen that just a little bit here and see where this is going to put him. This is going to be still First Street, and he is going straight down First Street. He's catching a lot of green lights here, not a lot of traffic on First Street, and it does look actually like LAPD has finally, for the first time, really put a little bit of distance between them and him, but you can see it widen out a little bit. I just want to see how far that primary unit is Rob. There you go. So he's not too far, but still, they are right behind him.
All right, and we're watching him going down First Street again, and there's a driver and a passenger at least. Now you can see that the rear windows are blacked out pretty distinctively. I don't know if there are any other people in the vehicle. It's hard to see.
It looks like there's somebody in the back.
There might be somebody in the back.
Seat. Looks like a third person.
Right.
Yeah, that looks like a third person in the back seat.
Ducking down. Okay, yeah. So there's at least 3 people in this vehicle, one of whom, perhaps more of whom than just one, are shooting suspects that the LAPD is pursuing. You see their LAPD helicopter right there above it, shining the night sun on it. It's a very familiar sight to anyone who is in the Los Angeles area. Apologize for a little breakup of the picture there. What's the direction of travel right now, and are we still on First Street?
Still on First Street, getting a little more information from our assignment desk. Apparently, this is in connection to a shooting that happened this afternoon, Mark, somewhere along 4th Avenue. Limited info, but still new details that this is related to a shooting this afternoon along 4th Avenue, and that's all we know. So we have 3 suspects now on the run here, at least 3. Probably a good guess that there might even be more than that, but we'll see here. We have at least 2 people in the front, 1 person in the back. That person in the rear passenger seat just rolling the window back up, it looks like. Still heavily tinted windows. We were able to catch a better glimpse through that front windshield, but now he is still on First Street, approaching Boyle Avenue, and the congestion here, you can see these are tighter streets. He occasionally catches a little bit of traffic, but for the most part, these are residential streets that are really narrowing on him, and he is just speeding right down First Street still with those LAPD units right behind him under the overpass there. This is going to put him on a little bit closer to the we're still in the Fashion District pretty much, but we're going to continue closer to downtown LA as he makes his way further west along First Street and eventually over the bridge here in just a second.
All right, he's going to be crossing the famous bridge there, and we'll watch that happen. And it's notable, of course, there's not a lot of traffic right now, and that's good. This time of night, there would not be. So that's a good thing, but there are still some congested parts of the city where there might be more pedestrians afoot than in other parts, and he seems to be heading in that direction as he goes into the downtown core. There are pedestrians walking around on the streets in downtown LA at night. There's a pretty significant nightlife scene there, as well as others who are at home on the streets, frankly, or who make their homes on the streets. And so there would be pedestrians at potential risk here, and along with the people in that intersection he just ran through.
Yep.
Nobody hit there, but shows the willingness of this driver to do what he or she needs to do or wants to do to try to get away. Passing okay, there's a little more traffic right now.
That was the first real sign of desperation that we've seen so far, right through that red light with lots of cross traffic, a busy intersection with more of those to come as he gets closer to downtown LA. Right here in the thick of it, right behind City Hall, you can see him still on First. The taller buildings that will allow him to hide out. Lots of parking structures, lots of places to dump the vehicle and potentially try and hide out, or he could continue straight through downtown and get on either the 110 freeway or head into the Rampart District where he will have less obstacles. So you can see the night sun right overhead, right along First Street. He's still on First. He's been on First now for some time. Those LAPD units still right behind him as he makes his way straight through downtown LA in the westbound direction and not slowing down whatsoever. And they are not giving this up at all. They're, again, showing no signs as he makes his way underneath the 110 freeway. No signs of giving this up. He's now going to be making a left turn just to the west of the 110 freeway. That's going to be Beaudry, and this may give him an opportunity here in the next couple of blocks to get onto the 110 freeway, or he can just continue south on surface streets. But it looks like he is committing to Beaudry, at least for the time being, Mark.
Running through that red light at Beaudry and 2nd, heading toward 3rd. The numbers go up as they head further south, of course, in Los Angeles. Again, more intersections ahead. He passed the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion a little bit ago, passed by City Hall. Some of the landmarks of downtown as he continues to try to flee from police. We are seeing him now. This is where we have seen other suspects, have we not, duck into some of these underground parking structures. We have seen them use freeway overpasses to link up with people and switch cars. So this is becoming a more frequently used tactic, is to head into downtown and do what you can there to try to get away. And the question now there he is. We thought he might have perhaps gone into a parking structure, but no, not at this point. LAPD headquarters really not too far from where he is, right?
Well, we've made our way a little bit further to the west, so now we're actually west of the 110 freeway. He's moving away from downtown now. You can see there were LAPD units in the opposing direction there. They appear to be coincidentally there, but if they have an opportunity, he's been on First Street for so long, I wonder if there might be more black and whites ahead of him, potentially setting up for a spike strip. I'm also a little bit surprised that we haven't even seen any attempt of a pit maneuver. There might be a good reason for it, but it seems like they would have had some opportunity in the last 10 minutes to try for it. Anyways, the streets have been relatively narrow, so maybe that's why. But once again, as we show you this view right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 black and whites now behind this guy as he now drives down an alleyway. This is going to put him on Miramar Street at Whitmer Street. He's slowing down a little bit too, if you notice, Mark. Maybe looking for a good hiding spot to dump the vehicle and just go running for it into the trees or something like that. But he's driving much slower than he was just a little bit earlier. And now decision to make here, coming north or northbound on Lucas Avenue. He had the opportunity, it's worth mentioning, to get on the freeway. He has now bypassed that a couple of times. He was on the freeway at one point and then turned around, headed back into East LA. Now we're on the west side of downtown LA, so in an entirely different neighborhood, an entirely different set of surface streets. He's navigating them fairly well, but he is slowing down, which again tells me maybe this neighborhood he might not be as familiar with, maybe making this up as he goes along or intentionally looking for a hiding spot. Nonetheless, regardless, he has a lot of pressure on him. He's got multiple helicopters. He's got at least 10 black and whites right behind him, and there are a number ahead of him trying to intersect this pursuit here. So you can just see from the resources here, his time is limited. His minutes, I believe, are numbered. And at these speeds, they can manage this pursuit pretty safely as long as he doesn't really amp things up. Which, of course, once you say it, everything changes. If they agitate him just a little bit, we saw what happened just a couple weeks ago, and then things can get very dangerous very suddenly. But right now, he's kind of meandering through here, now going the wrong way up on the curb here at Temple and La Vida Terrace. A lot of random moves here. I don't think this guy knows where he wants to take this.
Yeah, and he's going to pass by the Rampart Division here fairly shortly, Temple Street, in the Westlake area of Los Angeles, a very densely populated part of the city as well, worth noting. And if you live in this area, please keep your doors and windows closed. It's kind of my standard warning whenever we have a pursuit that goes through any sort of a residential area, and just to kind of keep your doors and windows closed and locked, because you never know if somebody's going to foot bail and come heading into your home. And it's a Temple and Furman. The video on the right is from earlier where he went through that intersection and nearly collided with a couple of cars. He managed to do without causing any harm to anyone, but it was fairly narrow escape. And the speed you see on the left, he's going some 70 miles an hour on Temple and Beaudry in the Westlake area of LA, seemingly. Which direction is he heading now?
It looks like he's going south now, and that would have been, I believe, the 101 freeway he just went under there. So he's now back in the downtown vicinity, just north of the 101, on Temple, and again slowing down. A lot of random moves here, another random U-turn here, or maybe looking to make that was a northbound turn. That's going to put him onto Hope, but he's going away from downtown now. So he's northbound on Hope, getting onto the freeway. That's going to put him on the 101 freeway, and it looks like he's committed to the southbound side. So that's going to put him on the southbound side of the 101 freeway, which once again, this is where you can start to predict his next move, because this is going to take him back towards City Terrace eventually, back towards the East LA interchange. If he gets off, it would establish a real pattern for the suspect. If he stays on the freeway, he could take us in a totally different part of town. So we'll see what he does here, but something tells me he may be looking for an exit somewhere in this East LA area, because that just seems to be where he's most comfortable. And again, we know this shooting happened on 4th Avenue at some point earlier this afternoon. We understand there are 2 people in the front, at least 1 person in the back. We have not seen anybody in the back on this side of the vehicle. The passenger we saw was on the passenger side, so if anybody rolls down their window, we'll see if we can count more people inside this white Honda. Don't know if it belongs to them, if this is a stolen vehicle, if there are more crimes associated with these suspects. What we do know is that the original want was shooting suspects. These are shooting suspects that LAPD seems intent on bringing into custody this evening. They are still following with a large contingent of black and white units, Mark.
Yeah, and the speed really ramped up once he got on the freeway. He started hitting the triple digits pretty soon after he got there, and still up above 90 miles an hour. You see how rapidly he's passing the other traffic. Does he have a plan? Is there somebody waiting for him somewhere? You know, I wouldn't ask that if we hadn't seen it so many times, especially lately, where he's got a plan about where and how he might be ditching the vehicle and trying to get away. Maybe trying to put some distance between himself and the pursuing officers right now. I don't know how well he's going to be able to do with that. And worth noting, too, this is not some sports car he's in. This is a Honda minivan, a Honda Pilot, we believe. And you got to be careful on those quick lane switches at that speed, because it is not built for that. And there could very well be a real problem that could happen in an instant with all those people in the car as well, and all the other drivers on that 101 freeway. Is he now on the 10? Is that correct?
He's on the eastbound side of the 10 freeway doing extreme speeds here, upwards of triple-digit speeds, eastbound 10, approaching Soto Street, which is where he got on the freeway earlier. It seems that he's bypassing the City Terrace area, but that's where we are right now. We're at the 10 freeway in City Terrace, continuing at a very high rate of speed, a little bit of traffic, but just enough that if he makes one wrong move, we could be looking at calamity. So let's hope that he can maintain control of that minivan at these dangerous speeds. That, as you mentioned, is not a sports car. It is much different. It is top heavy. It is difficult to maneuver. And now he's getting off the freeway without barely slowing down at Eastern Avenue here. So getting off the 10 freeway, it appears, at Eastern Avenue, again, still booking it as he makes his way eastbound.
All right, let's see where he goes once he gets off the freeway. This is at Eastern, as you mentioned. There's a car in front of him. There's likely to be some traffic once he gets onto surface streets. There's going to be cross traffic. There's going to be the potential for red lights to be run, and the dangers inherent in that. But we will see. Oh, he just went off the road.
Oh, he's losing control off the 710 freeway, off the 10 and the 710, losing control. Looks like he may be slammed into a light pole there at the intersection of Ramona Boulevard and Ramona Road. We'll see if anybody jumps out of that vehicle, but it does look like the vehicle is now disabled. It looks like the driver's side door is still closed, but there is somebody walking around. He may have gotten out of the vehicle. That's the driver, and a passenger now running up the embankment. There's a passenger running up the embankment, somebody else walking, staying right around that vehicle. It looks like he doesn't want to run, but one of those suspects is on the run up that embankment at the intersection of Ramona Boulevard and Ramona Road. He just passed the 710 freeway, and at the end of Eastern Avenue, slammed into that curb after losing control. He just took it way too fast, and it looks like this person is ready to give up. He's got the night sun on him, in his face. We know there were at least 3 people total at a minimum. There were 3. One person has gone running up the embankment.
Who's this guy?
We have one person standing right by the vehicle. This looks like he's a passerby that's just asking if he's okay. That's a good Samaritan who is just pulling over
may not
to
know
check
what
on
the,
this minivan.
what the backstory is.
He has no idea. Yeah, he's got no idea what's going on, but we still have at least 2 people either unaccounted for, unless that third person is still in the car. Something tells me the other 2 probably both were able to get out of there and are running for it. But we have one person now walking down the sidewalk as if nothing happened. I believe that may be the driver. It is the driver. That's the driver now walking casually down Ramona Boulevard.
Kind of
limping.
limping.
2 other passengers. He's limping a little bit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be surprised if that airbag went off. I don't know for sure, but he took that turn way too fast and then slammed into the curb and eventually either into the retaining wall and possibly even into the light. Look at it. He's struggling a little bit, Mark. You're right. He's in no shape to run like the other guys. And now it looks like he's going to maybe just try and blend into the night here, but that night sun is right on him. They are triangulating LAPD units into this area, but as you can see, those primary units that were right behind the suspect for so long apparently at some point, I see them now right below Air 7 here. They're making their way into the area, but those original pursuing officers, at some point along the freeway transition, I guess lost them. They must have been unable to make the either the turn with him. I don't know what happened. They were right behind him. You saw that, Mark, and then suddenly they're gone. So they are getting their way. They're getting their bearings. They're making their way back into the area. I see a lot of flashing lights in the area, but right now only the helicopter with the night sun on that driver.
Yeah, and he's stumbling around. I wonder if there might be some intoxication there. I wonder if he might have been in some way concussed by the force of the collision. But he was a little stumbly. Now he's going to try to make a run for it or a trot for it. All right.
Yeah, making a run here. Corporate Center Drive at Ramona Boulevard. Again, just kind of casually walking down the road here. And, you know, maybe even convinced that he's gotten away with it. But it took him a minute to get his bearings. Somebody, another Good Samaritan apparently stopping, potentially. He's talking to somebody in the passenger seat. And that vehicle is continuing on. So he's just walking through this neighborhood. It's a commercial area. And here comes
the Highway Patrol.
California Highway Patrol. They're going to be approaching him here momentarily, and we're going to try and get around this tree.
All right, there he is. I don't know what story he's trying to tell him, if he's going to try to tell him a story or what, but you're under arrest, sir, and that's it for that. Hands behind the back. He is now in the custody of the Highway Patrol. Now the question is, what has become of the other two people that were in the vehicle that is now, about 2 blocks behind him, that crashed, first lost control as it was heading down that off-ramp at Eastern Avenue, and then crashed into the curb and then the retaining wall, we believe, and the traffic light. There it is.
Yeah. That's where it ended right there. You can see the vehicle, but unfortunately, Mark, without any real presence here, you have CHP now pulling into the area off of the freeway. LAPD nowhere to be seen suddenly. Again, surprisingly, because they were right behind him for so long. There's a couple of units, but for the most part, there is not nearly enough police presence to establish a perimeter. We know that at least one, maybe two of those suspects walked up this embankment here onto private property.
Luminarias.
And are probably hiding out as we speak. But again, without any police presence, I would be willing to bet that they are going to be making their way home in all likelihood. Just not enough police presence to establish a perimeter. And in any case, it is typically, they're pointing their gun at somebody, or at least pointing the flashlight up there. Maybe they see signs of somebody in the bushes hiding out. The other two you saw were a little more able-bodied than the driver. I had a suspicion that they would be making their way a little further away from the scene of the crime here. But if they're just hiding out up there and somebody has spotted them, that may allow them an opportunity to bring these other ones into custody. But I think in any case, Mark, it just is typically the case that the driver is the focus. Now, these were shooting suspects, so that complicates things. They want all of these guys in custody if at all possible, but just very difficult without anybody at the end of this pursuit termination.
Right, unless if they're hiding, you know, as you know, the LAPD helicopters, probably most of the law enforcement helicopters now, if not all, are equipped with forward-looking infrared, which we know can detect the body heat of someone against the background of the ground. And you can't hide. You might think you can at night, but you can't, especially at night because the ground is cooler and the warmth of the human body stands out that much further, and there's literally no way they can hide unless they get against a background that is of similar temperature. And so maybe that is what is being helpful here as more units arrive on scene, and they're starting to point their flashlights up the hill, as we, of course, saw that one person, kind of a skinny person in what appeared to be light gray pants, light gray, perhaps long sleeve sweatshirt, if I remember correctly, and heading up the hill toward Luminarias.
That's right, and they were looking right up the hill from where the pursuit ended. It looks like the airship is actually pointing the night sun a little bit further. I believe that's going to be to the north, and that will be where they're focusing their infrared if they are able to see any heat signatures in that brush. It does look like, though, you know, with a big wide open parking lot back there and some other private property, it might be might very well be the case that they're going to try and hide out in the brush, in which case you're absolutely correct. At some point, they will be able to use those tools to find those suspects within the vegetation there. But and you can see they've actually done a pretty reasonable job. CHP has, by the way. This is all mostly CHP that has established a little bit of a perimeter. Again, still quite possible that these guys were able to depart this area. I don't think it's a sure thing at this point that they're in this box or in this perimeter, but we did see at least somebody catching the attention of that CHP officer off of Ramona. So they're going to be scouring this area again, if for no other reason that these are shooting suspects and there is a larger crime under investigation here. They're going to, you know, again, just as LAPD was dedicating a lot of units, CHP appears to be willing to dedicate a lot of resources as well at the end of this pursuit. And now you get, look at this.
There's
guy. Somebody walking right out of the bushes with his hands up in the air. That may be him. It certainly appears to be one of the passengers that is now walking through the parking lot. Appears to be obeying command with his hands up in the air, stepping towards those officers at gunpoint, and now on the ground. That is now going to be 2 of 3 in custody that we know for sure. We know there were 3 at least. And this will make a driver and a passenger now being detained.
Yes, and this is on the property. Where they are is kind of a landmark in Monterey Park. I mentioned it a couple times, Luminarias Restaurant, the site of countless wedding receptions, quinceañeras, and other special events. As they continue to search through this, it's a good thing there wasn't an event happening at this place at this time, because it would be a much more different and perhaps more dangerous situation. What they've got now, 2 out of the 3 that we know of who were in the car are now in custody, and the search continues for at least 1 more person. And that was the one guy we saw that was heading up the hill. And now you got more units arriving here. This is Monterey Park, and not sure if perhaps another. Go ahead.
No, it's just it's clear that they weren't able to get very far, and I think that means that the third suspect is probably within arm's reach here. If they continue looking through this area, they have flooded this entire area with units on every corner. So there's a good chance they may get all 3 here. Again, we know of at least 3, but this is the passenger who is now being detained, and it all happened when the driver lost control at Ramona coming off of Eastern just past the 710 freeway, which is now, again, allowing CHP to take this over. LAPD presumably going to make their way over here. These are their suspects, I believe. I'm pretty sure the shooting happened in LAPD's jurisdiction. But either way, we now have 2 of 3 suspects in custody.
All right, well, that is good news. Now the question is whether they can get that 3rd one and whether they can recover a weapon if one is in fact involved. These people were believed to have been involved in a shooting that happened earlier this afternoon on 4th Avenue in the Boyle Heights area. And we don't know the disposition of the people who were shot at, but there was a shooting. And these suspects were the ones that police were trying to connect to that, or believe they are connected to that. And so there was a pursuit involving that white Honda Pilot SUV through much of Boyle Heights, on the 10 freeway, on the 101 freeway, through downtown, through the Westlake area, west of downtown, and then back into Boyle Heights, and then East LA, and now Monterey Park, where the suspect, the driver, lost control of the minivan as it was getting off at Eastern and heading down that long on-ramp or long off-ramp. It veered into the weeds, veered into the brush there, and the driver lost control, wasn't able to negotiate the turn, and ended up running into a traffic light and a retaining wall, and that was the end of the pursuit. at least the vehicular portion of the pursuit. It became a foot pursuit after that. Rather slow foot pursuit. One suspect, the driver, we believe, dressed in dark clothing and a baseball cap turned backwards, walking down the street, stumbling a bit, perhaps injured, perhaps dazed by the airbag, perhaps impeded in some other way. But he made his way down there and about 2 blocks or so, walking, tried to talk to somebody in a vehicle. They took off away from him, and then he eventually gave up. That led to additional officers arriving on the scene, looking up the hill for the person that we saw getting out of the vehicle, the person in gray. I think I said he was in long pants. He was in short pants, but he was in gray, and that may have stood out a bit from the underbrush, perhaps also with the forward-looking infrared or FLIR that these helicopters are equipped with. They're able to spot someone that is invisible to the naked eye, and so they do have now 2 people in custody, but as you see, they are searching. They are searching for a third, perhaps for a weapon, perhaps for something else that the suspects might have dumped in the area. And so the search does continue with LAPD and the California Highway Patrol in this Monterey Park area, right outside Luminarias Restaurant, which is, of course, a landmark in that part of the Los Angeles County area. That's going to do it for us here at 11 o'clock. Jimmy Kimmel Live is next. Eyewitness News returns tomorrow at 4 a.m. I'm Mark Brown. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.